It's Monday, June 10th, and you're listening to the Geek at Geek News Central, the longest continuous running tech podcast. This is show number 865, sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com. Our June GoDaddy special, get new GoDaddy new customers get 35% off their very first order by using promo code 35OFF1. Or get a .com at $2.49 by using the promo code GEEK249. Hey, folks, got a great show lined up for you tonight. Glad to be back here in Honolulu. You know what comes next. Strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're GoFly.
Microphone.
We're GoFly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
No.
RSS data stream aggregator.
GoFly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right. I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There's no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to Geek News Central, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii via the Geek News Central studio overlooking Greater Honolulu. Hey, everyone, welcome to the show. Of course, my name is Todd Cochran. I want to welcome you to the show today. Thanks for being here. All of our longtime listeners, all of our Ohana, thanks for being subscribed. I got a great show lined up for you tonight. Lots of, I tell you, lots to talk about. Lots of soapbox material for sure. And if you're new to the show, hey, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for checking us out and taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to the show. We kick the show off every time with a few minutes of me just talking about what's happening here. And of course, then we bust into the full rundown of all the tech news and everything that's going on. Of course, if you want to watch the show, there's plenty of places to do it via iTunes. You can subscribe real easily over at geeknewscentral.com. Of course, sign up for our newsletter as well. That will guarantee that you'll get the show notes delivered directly to your inbox immediately following the show. That's way when you first check your email first thing in the morning, Tuesday morning or Friday morning, depending on what day the show is being recorded, which tonight is Monday. You'll get that there, and you'll have all the links to everything that I've covered. Of course, you can reach me personally as well on Twitter via @GeekNews is the Twitter account. You can email me here, geeknews@gmail.com, and the voicemail hotline remains open 24 hours a day at 619-342-7365. Everyone, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us. I'm glad to be back in Honolulu. Had an uneventful flight back from Dallas, and basically first, from Dallas to LA, I was just like, I put those eye covers on, and I was out for the count. And the stewardess is like, I've flown with you a couple times. She says, you're one of my most easy first class passengers. I'm like, yeah, because 4:00 in the morning when I have to, or actually 3:00 in the morning when I have to get up to get to the airport and basically board this thing and take off at 6 a.m. I said, I don't normally go to bed to about midnight, so I've only had a few hours sleep. So the flight to LA was perfect, and then flight from out of LA to Honolulu was uneventful. Got in here real early, about 11 o'clock in the morning, and we had a full boat of activities going on. Ran around town, did a bunch of stuff. Pretty chill on the Saturday and Sunday. My daughter was real nice. She made me a cake for my birthday. Had been earlier in the week, and had a little cake, and it was good. It was a nice, relaxing weekend, and I'm kind of, how should I say this? A little bit caught up. That is like a miracle. When I'm kind of ahead of things a little bit, I can kind of breathe a little bit, so less stress going on here. Of course, I got a couple of teenagers in the house, and it's like it's up and down with them. It's kind of the way it goes. So anyway, we are up on live stream tonight. I'm going to tell you, now that I'm kind of caught up, we'll get the YouTube thing going. We'll see how that works out. We'll do a YouTube show here soon. But, of course, got lots going on. Lots to talk about tonight for sure. And definitely want to thank our ongoing sponsor here at the show. We want to thank the folks over at GoDaddy for being on board. And I tell you, we got a great deal. a really great deal for the month of June. If you have never, ever signed up to be a customer at GoDaddy.com, this is the month where you're going to save 35% on your order, in your first order at GoDaddy.com by using the promo code 35OFF1. That is a stupendous deal. I mean, I wish I could get 35% off on my servers that I was renewing, but 35% off your first order at GoDaddy.com. So definitely check them out with all their offers that they've got going on over there. Of course, I've got a code for everybody. You don't have to be a new customer to take advantage of it. We've got the $2.49.coms, and which you can pick up. And of course, I've got a bevy of other codes at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. We've got the 3-month of economy web hosting for $1.99. We got 15% off any order $20 or more. We got 20% off on 1-year share hosting accounts. 10% on non-domain orders by using promo code Todd. That at one time was the most popular code that was used. Not so much anymore. We've got the .com renewals at $8.49 by using ComSale3. We've got SSL certificates, Geek SSL 12 for $12.99. And again, some discounts by using the promo code Aloha. You get $20 off any order. Central gets you $10 off any $50 or more, or $5 off any order of $30 or more by using the promo code Geek. So lots of codes. One there for everybody. GeekNewsCentral.com/GoDaddy. That'll get you the great savings, and we want to thank GoDaddy for being a long sponsor here at the show. Just one sponsor this week, and we'll be back to 2 next week. But so you guys get a little bit of reprieve from any sales pitches. But we do appreciate those of you that support the show. And I do remind folks that we have the Insider Program, where we want folks to consider becoming an insider. And really what the Insider Program does is it helps me continue to grow the show in really kind of some exciting ways. And at some point, we'll be able to get to the point where the Insider Program will take over for some of the advertising going on in the show. But takes you coming in and supporting. We've got all price points: $2, $5, $10, $12.50, $15, $20, $25, or even $50 a month monthly. And so just, $2 a month is like just an incredibly low price, 6.7 cents or something like that a day. And really, I shouldn't even have that on there. It should be $5. But we hope that you will support us. And we want to thank those of you that are. There's a number of folks that are longtime fans of the show. They're supporting us with a monthly contribution, and it is greatly appreciated. All right, let me look at my stack here. Really kind of a short stack from chit-chat stuff. The new media show, we recorded it on Sunday and had a great show, but I haven't posted it yet. I kind of got wrapped up here this afternoon. I was like, oh, the videos and audio are uploaded. How come, Knucklehead, you didn't post it? So I'll have that go up before this show, so we'll have boom, boom, 2 in a row. But we had a great guest this past weekend. Interesting conversation. Really, the breadth of guests that we're having on the new media shows is pretty wide. And really some great discussions going on. Lots of nuggets in there for people that they're creating media. So enough on that. Okay, let's go ahead here and let me kick it across, and we'll get into, let me save that and open Chrome here. And what I want to do is I want to take just a second. And, I have to make a disclaimer. Do you guys know that, I was in the Navy? You guys know that some of the stuff I did I couldn't talk about in the show, and it remains that way. I've been retired 5 years, but it doesn't negate the agreement that I made with Uncle Sam when I signed my name on a dotted line, basically saying that from here into eternity, I shall not reveal things that I did, things that I saw, things that I learned. And if I did so, and if I do so, I know that there are serious repercussions for doing so. So when I saw some of the documents, the headers on some of those documents that were released over these latest scandals. And of course, we talked strictly on the last show about the Verizon leak. Little did we know at the same day the Prism stuff was going to come out, and that one really kind of rocked me to the core. And I've gotten a few emails in from folks, and I'm going to preface when we get into that segment that those are, our listeners' opinions. First and foremost, and I'm going to be straight up with you guys so that you guys understand really where I am coming from. I do not in any way condone ever anyone who holds a position of trust within the United States government from disclosing information that they have been made privy to, that they have signed an agreement to not divulge. I do not. I think it's you've been given that trust. You have agreed to it. They have done extensive background on you to figure out if you're trustworthy or not. But every once in a while, there's a bad egg. Now, given the information that was released, which I think is maybe not surprised many of you, but at the same time probably has shocked a lot of Americans. My mom was talking to me about it on the phone, and of course, her coming from the just getting the news bites and stuff on the radio and stuff that she's hearing on podcasts that she listens to, she's she doesn't know where this is. And I think a lot of Americans really don't understand the depth or how much information is being collected. Now, I'm not going to speculate. The documents say what they say, but this individual who fled the country and left and has escaped, I have to be very clear. He's going to be arrested, and I support the government's prosecution of him. Now, that may set wrong with some of you because some of you may say he's a patriot. He's done things that have exposed this. And while he has exposed it, and there's going to be great discussion about it, the simple fact that an individual who has agreed to be made privy of information by the U.S. government, they can't hold that trust, is deserving of the full letter of the law being thrown at him and extradition or whatever may happen to him in the future. Now, you guys are going to say that, well, Todd, we've talked about your concerns about the government's intrusion into privacy. Now, that doesn't really change my opinion. My opinion, I have concerns of where this stuff is going, and we think we've talked about in the past about the Patriot Act. But at the same point, I think we also understand that we live in and I'm not like I'm condoning, but let's just look at everything from a big world perspective here. We live in a world today where things are pretty nuts, and there are people in this world that would just as soon kill Americans, and have no qualms in doing so, and are plotting probably at this very time to invoke harm on people in this country. We all really value our privacy. It's a constitutional right. And so there's this big dilemma. I think we all can, to a certain extent, think a little bit on one hand, we want the government to do its job and to weed out and to find these absolutely horrible people and to stop them from invoking harm on the American population or anyone else in the world. Let's include this as a worldwide issue. And number two, at the very same time, we very much like our privacy. And I think if we really do some parallel looking at what's going on in the space, if you look on what's happening on the non-governmental side, you look at the information at Google and Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff that they're collecting about us. They have a huge portfolio about what we are. And I've often said on this show that Google probably knows each of us better than our spouses or our kids or our family members do. Because, you're going to, everyone has their time in front of their computer where they're going to search for different things, watch different things. They're going, they're going to know your innermost dark secret. That's just the way it is when it comes to Google. They've got that information. Do they use that to their advantage? I don't know. But then on the other hand, we've got this supposed basically collection system that's basically pulling all this data in. In most regards, most of us live a pretty boring life. We get our email, we do a little web surfing, we chat online with some friends, and it's really kind of mundane, right? We do some shopping, and it's not like we have this super exciting life. And I can guarantee you, for about 99.999% of us, the government doesn't care. And, you're not even on anyone's radar. But it's that small percentage that's out there on that end of that decimal point who is using the internet for nefarious things, communicating with folks that want to give harm. And I truly believe that there are people out there today that want to harm us. Anyone that is oblivious to that is kidding themselves, in my opinion. So it's a scandal. Because it's tied on top of a bunch of things that's happened recently, and we're all looking at what's going on in space. Number one, we had the stuff that happened in Benghazi. We don't have a full understanding of that. We've got the IRS scandal where they're actually targeting particular American organizations, specifically conservatives and Christian type groups. Number three, you've got the U.S. government going after journalists and actually saying some of them could be held criminal for their investigations. 4, you've got this information from that basically they're collecting phone records from Verizon. And then 5, boom, you've got this additional layer here of just get it all, right, with the PRISM thing. So you got 5 things. And maybe on the forefront, most people probably think about 4. Maybe Benghazi is a completely separate situation. But at the same time, you've got these 4 things that are at least 4 things that should be troubling to every American, regardless of your politics. It doesn't matter if you're Republican. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. Doesn't matter if you're independent. Doesn't matter if you're progressive. Whatever you are, those 4 things about the IRS spying on because what happens if it's the next administration and they're spying on liberal groups? So we don't want that either, right? Number 2, the spying on journalists and freedom of press, that's just incredible. And then we get into the privacy issues and Fourth Amendment and everything else that ties into having the American life. Now, those of you that listen to this show outside of the United States, you're probably tired of hearing about this, but this is frontline stuff right now here in this country. And we have to understand that the agency, the National Security Agency, has authority to do a lot of stuff, and it has broad powers to gather information on foreign terrorists and spies. So could that include people that are in the United States that are spies, that are American citizens? I would think so. Now, it's supposed to be underneath the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Act. That authority is not entirely supposed to be unfettered. But it appears that it's grown considerably in scope. And, the organizations are supposed to be broken into doing certain things. The FBI is largely internal to the United States. They investigate American citizens that are doing criminal activities. We've got other agencies that do other things that are largely foreign-based. And, I don't know if any of us have a warm and fuzzy, but if we can trust, and this is a hard thing to say right now, if we can trust the folks in the administration saying that these programs are well supervised. Now, is there any way to verify that? No. But I would hope that people that work at these jobs have the same values as we do, and they respect people's privacy. And if they're going to go after bad guys, they focus on the bad guys and, filter down. And, in all reality, there's just no way anyone could ever look at every person in this country. It's impossible. So we'll have to see where this leads. But, I initially, when I heard this, I just kind of going, you're talking about some massive intrusions, potential intrusions to privacy. And there's really nothing left, right? I guess what you do inside your home is probably what's left. But to be subjected to unreasonable search and seizure is definitely being violated, right? And so I don't know. I'm sure it invokes many emotions to many of you. And there's lots of articles. I mean, there's probably more articles on this than anything else. And, it's interesting to hear how the companies implicated in this have reacted. And, and I wonder if they're, and you think everything comes into doubt, because if you think about it, all right, if they were ordered to do this, okay, let's just go on the plain platform that they were ordered to do this, and they were ordered, you shall never, ever talk about this. Number 2, right? It's number 3, it's revealed, and yet it's still they're ordered, you can't talk about it. Now, when I saw the Washington Post article and the first header in the very top of the article, and it had basically the document that had been scanned, it was like old instincts kicked in, and I said to myself, you're not supposed to read that. And you guys are going to think that's kind of weird, but the best way to describe it is if you are in a government position and you are given a position of trust and you're given access to something, you just not like you have the full catalog. There's 1,000 pages in the catalog and you get a page, right? And if you're given permission to look at page number 2, that's, you've given permission to look at page number 2. But, it's not like everyone gets access to everything. That's not how it works. So when I saw that document, old instincts kicked in and says, dude, you're not supposed to read that. And Honest Engine, I didn't read the article. You just call it, and some of you are going to say that's ridiculous that you didn't read it. But it's just like the old instincts kicked in. You say, you're not supposed to see that, And so it's kind of a weird reaction I had personally. But if you look at the statements from the companies that have come out, and I want to read a few of these and make you guys, let's think about their mentality here. They've been threatened under prosecution law that their officers of their organizations will go to jail if they reveal anything about this program. That's my assumption, right? AOL. We do not have any knowledge of the PRISM program. We do not disclose user information to government agencies without a court order, subpoena, or formal legal process, nor do we provide any government agency with access to our servers. Apple. We have never heard of PRISM. We do not provide any government agency with direct access to our servers, and any government agency requesting customer data must get a court order. Facebook. Protecting the privacy of our users and their data is top priority for Facebook. We do not provide any government organization with direct access to Facebook servers. When Facebook is asked for data or information about specific individuals, we carefully scrutinize any such request for compliance with all applicable laws and provide information only to the extent required by law. Okay, so these are pretty cookie-cutter responses, right? Google. Google cares deeply about the security of our users' data. We disclose user data to government in accordance with the law, and we review all such requests carefully. From time to time, people allege that we have created a government backdoor into our system, but Google does not have a backdoor for the government to access private user data. Microsoft. We provide customer data only when we have a legal binding order or subpoena to do so, and never on a voluntary basis. In addition, we only ever comply with orders for requests about specific accounts or identifiers. If the government has a broader voluntary national security program to gather customer data, we don't participate in it. Yahoo. We do not provide the government direct access to our server systems or networks. Now, almost all of those says we do not do this without a court order. But that court order is exactly what was issued, and I am sure along with that court order there's languages that you will not reveal. So, are those companies, can they make those statements and legally lie? Can they? What do you guys think? You can almost guarantee that if the scope of the program that has been described in many online articles is as it says, those companies have been put under incredible legal pressure to keep their mouths shut. Now, if we go back to the beginning, I told you I retired from the Navy, and I signed a piece of paper that says you shall not reveal, discuss, disclose anything you're exposed to for the rest of your life. I'm going to tell you something, folks. Going to jail for the rest of your life is pretty impactful. Now, I love America. And to disclose something for me would be against my better moral judgment. So I'm sure folks at AOL, Apple, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Paltalk, Yahoo, these are hardcore American-loving entrepreneurs. And they don't want anything to happen in this country either. So would they willingly put out a statement like this because they've, number one, protected by a court order. Number two, they know if they reveal that something is actually happening, they will go to jail. If it turns out, let's think about this. If someone in that company or those companies comes forward, because this is if this there's actually something implemented where something can be reached in and grabbed and pulled out. That's not just a one man. That's not just a one man job at a company like Google or AOL or Apple. That's a team that basically makes that process happen. And I can almost think that maybe some of those folks might hold positions of trust, may have a piece of paper. So, here's the question. What happens if they've made these statements and it turns out that hypothetically they've had to make these statements and say this because their officers of the company are going to go to prison otherwise? What happens if one of the folks in those companies come out and say, well, what they said wasn't necessarily true? Now, my suspicion is, and my gut tells me, that what they're saying, and this is going to be contrary to everything I have just said here, but my gut says the statements are true, are correct. I'm sure many of us have been in a meeting, a business meeting, where something is proposed and something is put on a PowerPoint, and then that project is either scaled back, dumped, adjusted, changed. There could, that could be an avenue here that we have not been exposed to. So I'm going to kind of end with this particular topic by talking about this guy, this Edward Snowden, who is now missing in Hong Kong. He checked into his hotel on Monday, but his whereabouts are unknown. He is believed to still be in Hong Kong, and he has asked for asylum in any country that will take him. Interesting enough, there's a petition posted on the White House calling for a pardon to this individual. And I'm going to be straight up. And some of you are going to be shocked to hear this. I'd like to see this individual prosecuted. Now, the information, and here again, we're torn, right? Because this information comes out is interesting, but at the same point, he signed an agreement with his employer and with the government not to disclose. Now, some people are calling him a hero, a patriot, and in time and history, we'll see where it lays. But I don't necessarily think he's a whistleblower. I think he is a security violator. Irregardless of the information that has been put online, the simple fact that it's been released and he violated his security clearance to do so is pretty shocking. Now, I'm sure many of you will disagree with me completely. Some of you may be pissed, and I really want to hear your guys' opinion on this individual. And to be honest with you, this is a very fluid situation, but the basic facts are is he violated the law by releasing this information. And I am sure that the U.S. government will bring all pressure through the Department of Justice to bring him to justice. Just a simple fact. You do something with your employer, you go to, and your employer has allowed you to sign an NDA, and you release that to the you release some business thing to the competition. Sure, you can do it, but there are going to be some serious consequences if you're caught, right? So it's interesting, though, there's a poll by the Washington Post that suggests a majority of Americans think government monitoring of phone records is acceptable if the aim is to fight terrorism. I think I think I would agree if what we're being told is true, that it was targeted, very targeted. And some of you are going to say, well, Todd, you can't have it one way or the other. And I kind of hate to say it this way, but you almost have to, right? What's the other choice? That we don't do anything, and then we take the hits from attacks and terrorists and whatever else happens. We pay the piper in blood on our streets. That's the choice that we have to make. So what and some would say, well, that's no argument. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's no argument. Maybe the blood on the street is what it takes. I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback, because I don't think there's any completely right answer to this at this point. But from a legal standpoint, this guy's screwed. I mean, he's done. Unless the president comes out and throws him a bone, I don't see that happening. And here's the crazy part. This guy had only been an employee less than 3 months. Very interesting on where this goes. So we'll see. I spent a lot of time on this tonight. I wanted to take some time and talk about it. I know that many of you are not going to agree with me. That's fine. And that's what this show's about, is having just, my discussion point on this. And I want to hear your guys's, your point of views as well. I think it's important that we hear that. This would be a great time for you to call in if you want to call in anonymously and leave something on the hotline at 619-342-7365. You can. If you want to drop me an email and you want to be anonymous and email me here at geeknews@gmail.com, feel free to do so as well. And if you want to be public about your feelings, feel free to fire stuff over as well on this. And I really thought about this show for quite a bit over the weekend on where my brain process was with this was. And I guess that that is one of those things where we all have to kind of make a mental decision. Are we willing to give up some privacy and trust the people that work in the government? And, we just think about this. Most of the people that are civil servants, they're 9 to 5. They work 40 hours a week. They live in our same communities. They are people that you barbecue with. And I think you'll find that probably the majority of them are just like you. And the only difference is when they go to work, they got to dig through mountains of stuff that affects safety of Americans every day. But at the same point, do you trust that person not to snoop around and abuse that authority? And do we trust the government to make sure that the oversight and the rules and confines of what they are allowed to do, they stay within that and don't cross over? I'm sure there's always going to be that portion that's going to rogue over. But I would hope that it would be a very, very small percentage. And it didn't take long. There was a lawsuit filed today, a $3 billion lawsuit in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. Basically a class action lawsuit that names the plaintiffs the president, the Eric Holder, who is our head of the Department of Justice. We've got Keith Alexander, director of National Security Agency, and just a whole list of folks. U.S. State Department, Verizon Communications, Roger Vinson, a judge at the U.S. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. So this is a civil action that basically is going to be a class action lawsuit. We'll see where this goes. And my expectation is this won't probably go very far. I don't think, first of all, you can sue a sitting president. I think he's got some high protection there. So we'll see. Or even some of these other sitting government folks. I think they can go after the government, but I don't think they can actually go after the individuals. Again, I'm not an attorney, so maybe I'm talking outside of my mouth here, but you knew this is coming. Now, interesting enough, over on Business Insider, Steve Wozniak had this interview where he says cloud computing will cause horrible problems in the next 5 years. The Apple co-founder slammed cloud computing during question and answer after a recent performance of The Agony and the Ecstasy of Steve Jobs, a controversial play by Mike Daisey. He says, I really worry about everything going to the cloud. Wozniak told the audience, according to a transcript from Agence France Presse, I think it's going to be horrendous. I think there are going to be a lot of horrible problems. Woz didn't offer much in the way of specifics about what these horrible problems would be, but he did hint at concerns about signing away rights to digital property stored in the cloud and general losing ownership of that property. He said, I want to feel that I own things, Woz said at the event. A lot of people feel, oh, everything is on my computer, but I say the more we transfer everything on the web onto the cloud, the less we're going to have control over it. But at the same point, dun, da, 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 things in the cloud are easily accessible when requested by the government. Also, if you remember here recently, remember when the Supreme Court rejected the review of a FISA Amendment Act because it was too speculative that the plaintiffs were being monitored? So the Supreme Court rejected the review because of speculation and no facts. So now, with this leaked document showing that the FISA court ordered the data on all phone calls from Verizon and the further admission from multiple senators that this program has been happening since 2007, I wonder if this is going to re-raise this issue. So it is kind of interesting. The Supreme Court, which those justices have nothing to do with that FISA, probably have no clue what they're doing. I would expect to have no clue. And they don't, here we have the Supreme Court justices of the United States. The Supreme Court. These are the guys that lay down and interpret the law and make sure that hopefully they're not legislating from the bench, which, has become a problem. But they're talking about this, they didn't even have enough data to allow a Supreme Court case to move forward. Because, again, there was just speculation. Hindsight's 20/20. We should all go, Meanwhile, what are the damage done? What's the damage done to the companies involved? Do you think it's going to change things? How do you guys feel? Boy, I just want to I just want to hear your feedback right now. I really do. I want to hear what you have to say about this. And I hope that you guys just throw everything at the wind at me come Thursday, because I think this is a good discussion point for the show. And I hope I haven't got too far off the beaten bush here and haven't beat this to death, because there's a lot of other good news today, which we've got to get into. Okay, so let me move here. WWDC, big updates without big surprises. Apple spoke to the developer community today at its 24th annual Worldwide Developer Conference. And Tim Cook started off saying, we want to make the best products that people use more and love more than anybody else's. And the product unveiling's embraced by the hooting and hollering of fans who show up every year to pack San Francisco's Moscone Center. Really, there wasn't any big surprises over 2 hours, and the stock really didn't do too much from it. But, considering they still had $22 billion in net profit during the 6 months ended in March, Apple's not really hurting. So they made some change to iOS, which runs on iPhone and iPad. There's lots of pictures out there. And basically, this is basically the biggest update to iOS since the introduction of the iPad. And so a lot of changes coming. There is going to be the iTunes radio service, which will be built into it and on Apple device. What happened? Oh, that's weird.
And you're welcome to call me Jim, but nobody calls me that.
Whoa. Is it James? What?
Yeah.
Okay, because I heard. Wow. I'm getting a blink. Is something coming unplugged? Well, that's bizarre. Okay. Just had, am I got something leaning on something here? Let me look and make sure that nothing is touching my, whoa. The video on the TriCaster here is blinking and going. It looks like I've got a loose USB cable somewhere, which is not good. I saw the control board blinking, and I guess we're okay. Wow. Well, what a way to interrupt the show. We're on a good roll here. I wonder if the video got trashed. Let me go over and look at the video recorder, see if it's still running on the other machine. It's still running, but something's going to be funky at the end. So those of you that are watching the video portion of the show, I hope we got this under control. I'm going to have to check the connection. If it isn't one thing, my God, it's another here. So those of you on the live stream, are we still live? Let me know, all right? Okay, so anyway, let's talk a little bit about what they've announced. Obviously, the update to iOS 7. They've introduced some new MacBook Air laptops with increased battery and everything else. And they're going to introduce a new Mac Pro, which has got this revolutionary new design. Let me see if I can get a picture up here. And this thing is funky. I'm really kind of questioning their whole design on this, if this is really going to be that. They always got to have something cool with the design, right? And let's see here. There we go. Let's try that. Wow, what's going on? The board is like half lit up. So I wonder if something must be loose, because I just bounced the board and the lights came back. So anyway, this new Mac Pro, can't buy it yet, but the look of it is pretty incredible. And they're saying this thing is going to be a whopper. It's going to be a monster from a power standpoint, but very interesting design. It's in a cube, and very compact, but everything they're saying, this thing is going to be a monster machine. But I just wonder how much it's going to cost. That's the question I've got for it. But it's going to be smaller than the Mac Pro, and but anyway, very, very interesting design, and we'll see where this goes. But can't wait to see this on the street, and then we'll actually see if it's actually affordable or not. That'll be the big thing. Did find an article with some pictures of the new iOS 7. I'll put those up for those of you that are watching. Give you a little bit of a look here, but kind of a transparent, flat design, and so they've done a lot of stuff with the motif of the operating system. There's some plus and negatives being talked about on the initial reviews, so we'll see where this falls out as we as time goes on. But new Mac Pro is probably one of the bigger announcements at the show, and of course the two MacBook Airs, and then the update to iOS 7. And the MacBook Pro folks are cheering, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to cheer the price or not, but time will tell. Apple's law enforcement critics appreciative of the new activation lock. Basically, they made the phone so that this feature, which was shown at WWDC, requires the use of the owner's Apple ID and password to reset and reactivate a phone that has been locked, disabled, or wiped. And basically, they'll see how it works. We want to see the actual functionality of this once it's made available. But apparently, this is going to reduce iPhone theft. And if someone's going to steal an iPhone, as long as you've got an Apple ID associated with it, you apparently are going to be able to just essentially wipe and lock out the phone no matter who has got a hold of it. So that's an interesting move here. We'll see where this goes, and this will be a feature in the upcoming update. But where anything is like that, there's always folks who'll figure out a workaround. It is interesting, though, that Tim Cook basically really did pitch to Android developers, basically saying that there's far more money to be made in the iOS ecosystem. And I thought that was a pretty incredible a comment. According to Cook and a slide his marketeers whipped up for the occasion, iOS 6 is now installed in 93% of the 600 million iDevices that Apple has shipped. Cook compared with that 37% of Android devices running Gingerbread and 26% running Ice Cream and 32% running the most recent versions of Android Jelly Bean. He said that those numbers include only those versions of Android that talk to the Google Play Store. So it doesn't include things like Kindles and the Nooks, but even those we know is a pretty bleak story here. Talks about app revenue by platform, and it's really basically saying, devs, come to iOS. We want you. And I think if you're a developer of mobile devices, you better play both fields because there is definitely no clear winner yet. Android is right in there competing very, very heavily. All right. Lots of stuff, too, at E3. Xbox One was, according to Don Matrick, is going to basically, and this is trying to play here, so let me be careful. I got a YouTube copyright violation notice for something that was Fox basically run. It was something to do with Steve Jobs' death, and it just came in and actually basically put a protest up, and Fox released the protest. This YouTube thing is still broke, but going back to, that's why I have to be careful on bringing up anything on the show, because they'll see that image and then they'll think I'm stealing the content. But Xbox One apparently is going to be giving some amazing experiences. The new console will go on sale in November with a recommended retail price of $499 in the U.S. and 499 euros, or 429 pounds in the UK. So $499. I told my son, I said, Ray, I said, the new Xbox is going to be $499. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, oh. He says, who wants an Xbox when... Oh, that's interesting. Who wants an Xbox when you're going to have... I'm trying to make a switch here on something. He says, who wants an Xbox when when you have to pay to do multiplayer? And I thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting comment to make. And but sadly, it was announced with the PS4 that's going to be released that they're introducing multiplayer cost as well. Now, the PS4 is going to be available at $399 this coming holiday season. And let me see if I can bring up a picture of, I don't know if this is the actual PS4 what it's actually going to look like. And I got some stuff that's not switching the way it should be. I definitely have got an issue here with my controller. All right, that's still online. That is not supposed to be on title. All right, that's on still. Why aren't you showing up? Okay, doesn't matter. So anyway, the console has been revealed, and $399 is going to be the cost. Sony is going to be bringing original programming to the PS4 and what's called the PSN. So that is on tap. They're talking a lot of entertainment here. Program has been specifically crafted for the PlayStation Network, made by Sony Studios. Along with that, there's going to be Redbox and Flickster is going to join Sony's basically it's going to be on the PS3 and on the PlayStation 4, including PlayStation Vita. If any of you have a Vita, it's going to be on there as well. PlayStation 4, though, is going to also require PlayStation Plus membership for multiplayer play. So this is interesting. They're trying to avoid DRM. They are allowing to do offline play. They're allowing PlayStation 3 games to be able to play on PlayStation 4. And why the hell is this thing blinking, All right, well, we're going to have to rush through the show here because either not, I'm going to lose you guys. But early access to beta, game collections, immersive multiplayer, all going to be less than $5 a month is going to be the pricing on that. Again, the PlayStation 4 will have no used game restrictions, totally offline capable, which will be a blessing for those of you that are running a PlayStation 4. Okay, more news that's going on in the space besides what happened at WWDC and what's basically been kind of announced for E3. .com's Mega is pushing more bandwidth than New Zealand. So this is pretty incredible. Obviously, he's being pretty successful, and it's been one of the most successful launches to date. And so definitely moving some bandwidth there. But only 5 months, he's moving more bandwidth than the entire country, New Zealand. So that's 100. He says the Mega's bandwidth should be well over 100 million petabytes at this point. That's a pretty big number, but it still is small in comparison to what happened to the defunct Mega Upload. Now, those of you that are working with an ISP or are part of an ISP that's not playing in the Six Strikes group. Now, let's listen up here. We know that AT&T, Cablevision, Comcast, Time Warner Cable, and Verizon are all on board for Six Strikes, but a number of ISPs either weren't asked to join or decided not to participate in the project. So those customers, such as Charter, CenturyLink, and Cox, are getting basically notices. And at the same time, they're getting basically saying pay up. So they're making folks pay as much as $20 per infringement and either pay up or get sued. So they're back to suing people. So be aware if you're on one of these networks that's not playing in the Six Strikes group, if you're downloading stuff on peer-to-peer, you don't be surprised if you get something in the mail that basically says, hey, pay up. I use Malwarebytes. I paid for the software, but Malwarebytes has made some changes, and it detects pirates and asks them not to steal software, which is kind of an interesting move here. And, of course, Malwarebytes is pretty good at detecting intrusive and harmful software in people's computers. And with this latest update, the company is basically implemented some circumvention tools, and they're trying to get people to be aware that they know that you're using illegal software that's been downloaded. Another article in the news, police have visited Pirate Bay proxy owner's home demanding a shutdown. We know that the UK has been very aggressive and it put a really hardcore stance toward online privacy. And they've taken that to new heights through a combination of police threats and backroom deals between industry groups. So basically, the one of the main targets identified were Pirate Bay proxy sites. And Torrent Freak has been informed that the police and FACT recently turned up on the doorsteps of one pirate sniper in the UK. According to the report from the site owner, he was handed a letter and ordered to shutter the site or face criminal action. So they're actually trying to shut down the proxies, which which is an interesting move. They threatened this guy by telling him he could be sentenced to a jail for a minimum of 4 years for the distribution of copyrighted materials. He says this time they were on a very personal level, not bothering with minor manners and such, and just shoving information down my throat without any explanation, whatever. He was basically asked to shut down the proxy or else, and he's basically hired a lawyer. So we'll see where this goes. 87 months in prison for copyright infringement. A man from Baltimore has been sentenced to 87 months in prison for infringing copyrights on more than 1,000 software programs, including Microsoft Office, Adobe Photoshop, Mac OS X, and Windows XP. 32-year-old man could lose his freedom until his 40th birthday. So that's a pretty big one. 87 months for distributing copyrighted material. So be aware. Hey, Game of Thrones season finale set a piracy record. More than 170,000 people shared the episode simultaneously. In just one day, more than 1 million people downloaded a copy of the show. This is pretty incredible. And I'm basically in the middle of season 2, watching it on the basically HBO Go. So anyway, that definitely is a huge number. SoftBank is up to Sprint offer to $21.6 billion. So, of course, Dish and SoftBank duke it out. SoftBank has raised its bid by $1.5 billion. Nice little competition there. That's a nice additional payday for Sprint stockholders. Moving here into the last few articles of the show, the hacker who helped identify Steubenville rapist has been threatened with a decade in prison. A security consultant who helped uncover evidence of the repeated rape of an Ohio teenager. Oops, there we go again. What is going on with this board?
I can send you guys one.
To black. I've got a box up. Let's get rid of that picture-in-picture box. It's like the whole board just went blah, 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 blah. And I've got some stuff going on here that should not be going on. All right, let me bring that back. Wow, I have no idea what's going on. Okay, well, oh, we got a big white box on the side of the deal here. What in? Hey, nothing else. You guys are being entertained tonight by the TriCaster. This is bizarre. Bizarro, but it's something to do with a USB connection. I'm positive of it. But we'll see. For those of you that are on the video part, I'm going to sign off. You can catch the rest of the show on the audio portion of it, but the video portion of the show, those that are live can continue to watch, but the recording portion is going to go down. Wow, completely bizarre. But aren't you glad you're listening to the audio part right now?